Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be traveling to Scotland. This is top 10 places to visit in Scotland. This is by Ryan Shirley. We watched one of his, a very broad one about the UK, just a lot of spots throughout the UK, and many of them came from Scotland. I personally have fantastic memories and magical memories of Scotland when I was there, and I was really young. I was probably around 10, if that. And I always remember, the rolling hills, very green rolling hills, the landscape, the cities were beautiful, the people were very warm and welcoming, extremely friendly. And I always have these memories of running around the castles there. I mean, I'm a medieval geek. I love anything medieval wise, and I will always have fond memories of Scotland. And it's one of the many places that I do want to visit again, especially now that I'm an adult. So together, let's see what these top 10 places to visit in Scotland are. And as always, what places would you add to this list? Because of course you can't hit everything with, top 10 places. This is, opinion of Ryan doing the video here. And I learn much more hearing and reading the comments, getting a discussion in the comments about other places to go, or more information on items that he discusses here, places that he discusses here. So let's see what this is all about, and I'm excited for this. Here we go.
What's up, guys? My name is Ryan.
Hello.
And last summer I did a road trip around Scotland, and I want to show you my favorite places. So here's my Scotland top 10.
That right there is amazing.
If you want to go back in time and feel like you're in a fairy tale, Scotland is the place for you. It's easy to see why so many legends and popular books such as Harry Potter have been born here. It's truly one of the world's most enchanted places.
And he's not really exaggerating that point. As a kid and growing up, and even now, it's well known, mythical creatures and mysteries, all this stuff have to do with Scotland. I mean, their landscape is amazing looking. But look at this shot right here.
So for our first location, we're going to visit the Old Man of Storr. Now the Old Man of Storr is located on the Isle of Skye, which is about a 5-hour drive from Edinburgh. It's one of my all-time favorite rock formations. I felt like I was on the set of Game of Thrones. When you drive to the Storr, you can see it in the distance and it gets you so pumped. It's just such a cool rock formation. Now, to hike to the Old Man of Storr, it's about a 4-kilometer walk. You'll go through some conservation gates and you'll reach the infamous rock pinnacles. I went there for sunrise and sunset, and both occasions were absolutely breathtaking.
I would love
When I was
that.
there, crows were flying around the rocks, and there was just some sheep running around. It was so magical. The legend of the Old Man of Storr is supposedly a giant lived there a long time ago, and when he was buried, his thumb was left sticking out of the ground, creating the mystical rock formations. When you go there, it's easy to see why it's one of the world's most iconic rock formations. I have to say this is one of my all-time favorite places, and I recommend everyone to see it at least once in their life. Just a few minutes away from the Old Man of Storr, there's
Love
a
it.
breathtaking waterfall called the Meout Falls that cascades down into the ocean. There's also a nice viewpoint where you can get a great view of the waterfall. There's also just beautiful sea cliffs in the area. One of the most famous is Kilt Rock, which looks like a kilt that descends down to the ocean. All the east side
Kind
of
of
the Isle
does.
of Skye, there's just such beautiful coastline there. So after, we're going to head over to another one of Scotland's most iconic locations, to the Glenfinnan Viaduct. So
Of
it's
course.
located at the top of Loch Shiel in the West Highlands of Scotland. It was completed around 1898. So it may look familiar because it was featured in Harry Potter. You'll see the train going there when it's heading to Hogwarts. So when I was there, I wanted to get a close-up.
The age of some of these things really baffle me. 1898. And this thing is, from this shot, massive. Way bigger than you ever think. I see many shots from helicopters and planes of this bridge, this famous bridge. And yes, it looks massive, but you don't get a scale of it until you see shots like this from the ground. And I always like to compare when things were built or came about, or people who lived, to other events at the time. So this was built, I think, 14 years before the Titanic even sunk, which was in 1912. So that kind of puts my mind in that whole kind of world of when this was roughly built. I know it was, 14 years before that, but around the same time. That's just how I think. Sorry about that.
Close up to the bridge, so I walked underneath it and I was just shook by how big it really was. I mean, those arches are
Yes.
just massive. So after, I hiked to a good vantage point where I could see the famous train go across the viaduct. I mean, it is just such a magical place. The backdrop of Loch Shiel is absolutely stunning, and definitely recommend visiting there. All right.
Apologies for how he pronounces things. I know I would mess it up as well, although I'm getting better, but I would mess it up. Sorry. I know he's going to make mistakes.
All right, so after Glenfinnan, we're gonna head over to Edinburgh. Now, if you want to go back in time,
Like that.
Edinburgh is a must. Edinburgh is the place where J.K. Rowling was when she wrote Harry Potter. So when you're going to go there, you're going to get all sorts of magical inspiration. When I first started solo traveling, Edinburgh was one of the first places I've ever went to. It's this medieval old town with intricate neoclassical buildings, cobblestone streets, and beautiful gardens. The iconic Edinburgh Castle overlooks the city and is home to Scotland's crown jewels. When I was there, I didn't go to the castle because it was so crowded and I didn't really feel like spending money. Kind of regret it, but definitely recommend go checking that out.
That's one of those places that I can't imagine going to. One of those cities I can't imagine going to and not going into the castle. But once again, I'm a medieval nerd, so I love anything like this. Blew me away, and even to this day, seeing it, I imagine in my head how hard it would be. This is just how my mind works. How hard it would be to, take something like this over as if you're defending it or attacking it, what the scenarios would be like. Seems, extremely well made for a castle. I don't really do medieval. I guess I kind of do videos, but maybe more in the future. Did see the crown jewels. Had no idea that there was a difference between these crown jewels and the crown jewels in the Tower of London. I did not know for many years. I thought that was the crown jewel, like the crown jewels.
Crown jewels. When I was there, I didn't go to the castle because it was so crowded and I didn't really feel like spending money. Kind of regret it, but definitely recommend go checking that out. One of my favorite places in Edinburgh is Calton Hill. It's just a short walk from the castle and it offers a beautiful view of the city. They have this really cool national monument there, these really cool pillars. All right, so while we're still in Edinburgh, we're gonna head over to Arthur's Seat. Now, Arthur's Seat is located in Holyrood Park and is just a short walk from Edinburgh Center. Now, Arthur's Seat is an extinct volcano that has an elevation of 823 feet. When I was there, I just saw Arthur's Seat from the distance and I was like, okay, I want to hike it because I wanted to get a view of all of Edinburgh. So anyways, I made the hike up. You'll walk around Holyrood Park, take the short little hike up there. When I was there, it was so windy. I couldn't believe how windy it was. It nearly blew me over. After I hiked to the top, I went down and walked around Holyrood Park and just enjoyed the views of Edinburgh. Just such a beautiful city. So after Edinburgh, we're gonna head back over to the west side of Scotland to visit the Eilean Donan Castle. Hope I said that right. If you're driving to the Isle of Skye, you're gonna drive right by it. It's situated on a small tidal island at a point where three great sea locks meet. So the castle was built in the 13th century. I'm really mad at myself because I didn't stop here. When I first drove by, it was good weather. I just didn't even know it existed. And then the second time I drove by, it was just pouring rain. So I just couldn't even go to the castle. It's definitely one of the biggest regrets I have of it in Scotland. So definitely don't make my mistake and make sure you make a pit stop at one of Scotland's most famous castles. All right, so after the castle, we're gonna make the short drive over to the nearby Cuillin Mountains. Now, the Cuillin Mountains are this very unique mountain range located on the Isle of Skye. When I was there, I went to the Sligashan Bridge, which is at the base of the Cuillin Mountains. The Sligashan Bridge is just super famous and scenic. When I was there, I didn't get many shots of the bridge because there was a lot of people on them. But I did get some beautiful shots of the mountains. They had such a unique shape. I love the contrast of the green peaks against the blue sky backdrop. I mean, it was just such a stunning location. Another enchanting location in...
That's one of those locations that I could just go and hang out there all day, just relax and roam around with nothing planned. I could just go there and just soak it all in. That's how beautiful this place is. In fact, many of the places that he's showing roughly reminds me of places in, Norway, for example, the fjords and everything like that. Looks roughly like that, just kind of more spread out and wide.
In the Cuillin Mountains is the fairy pools. Now, the fairy pools is just a short 30-minute drive from the Sligashan. The fairy tales, they're just located at the base of a dramatic black Cuillin Mountains. I was just blown away by the vibrant green slopes and the dark mountain in the background. It was just pitch black. I felt like Gandalf was going to run down with a massive horse army, like in the Two Towers Lord of the Rings movie. It was just so epic. When I was there were so many midges, which are like these annoying gnat-like bugs that bite. I mean, they're just horrible. I didn't have any bug spray, so I didn't dare walk down to the pools. I mean, I wish I would have gone. I mean, those pools are just such an iconic sight. The water is so magical and so clear, so that's another one of my regrets when I went to Scotland. So make sure you either bring bug spray or go in a different time than August. That's when I was there. So
he seems like he's missing a lot of these places that he's going to or driving by. I don't think I've ever heard of the Highland midge or just a midge in general. Are they bite, so they're not like mosquitoes? They just bite you though instead, and you get like what's a midge? Never heard of it. But anything like that where they're everywhere, not a fan. Not a fan. I want to know what a midge is though.
So after the fairy pools, we're going to head over to another mythical location, to the Fairy Glen. Now, the Fairy Glen is a very popular destination in the Isle of Skye. To get there, you're going to drive on this really small, sketchy road to get there, find a little parking spot, and then you just make like the short 5-minute hike to the Fairy Glen. Now, what it's famous for is it has these rings of rocks, and people often put some money in the center as an offering to the fairies. When I was there, I found this really cool rock formation that I hiked to so I could get a better view of those rings, and I also got some really cool views of the area. I mean, the grass is just so green there. I mean, it was such a cool place. I felt like a kid walking around those green hills, keeping my eyes open to see if I could see any mythical creatures or any fairies. It'll put you in a magical mindset.
Drinking game. Every time he says green, take a shot. Just kidding. Don't do that. We would be dead. But he's not really. From us coming, I mean, he sounds. I don't know where this guy's from, but he sounds like he's from, I don't know, the West Coast or something like that. It does, compared to the U.S., this is vibrantly green to things that we are used to. Very green hills. The whole country is extremely green, and that's what it makes it so much more, beautiful and magical than things that, you typically see here. If things were just green rolling hills here, wouldn't be quite as amazing. But because it is so vibrant compared to what we are used to, it makes it all that much better. Just beautiful.
All right, so after the Fairy Glen, we're going to head over to the Duncansby Stacks. Hope I said that right. Anyways, it's located in the most northern eastern part of the British mainland, just right at the tip there.
Yeah.
It's quite the drive from Edinburgh, so it's quite the road trip. It's home to some of the world's most beautiful ski stacks. Unfortunately, when I was in Scotland, I didn't have enough time to drive up there, but when I'm back, I'm going to make sure I visit the dramatic landscape. I just can't get over how epic the sea pinnacles are. Just such an insane location. All right, so after the sea stacks, we're going to head over to the Bedian Nam Bian mountain. Probably said that wrong, but anyways, I found this place by accident. I was driving from the Isle of Skye down to Glasgow, and I stumbled upon this magic location. I mean, I couldn't believe how huge these mountains were. I felt like I was in Switzerland or Norway. I mean, I didn't even know Scotland had just big mountains. I thought it was pretty flat. The Bedian Nam Bian is 3,770 feet high, so it's just huge. I mean, there's a scenic waterfall, and the valley was just beautiful. There was some sheep grazing. If you keep driving towards Glasgow, you'll pass some more massive mountains, such as this one, and then if you keep going, you will drive.
This looks roughly familiar from Skyfall. James Bond Skyfall kind of looks like this, and it's probably roughly near where they filmed Skyfall when they go to that. No spoilers, but they go to a location that looks like they are driving out here.
By Loch Lomond, which is just another massive lake. This is why I love driving in Scotland. There's just so many beautiful occasions that you just stumble upon accidentally. All right, so for our final location, we're going to head back over to the Isle of Skye to the Quiraing Mountains. Now, aside from the Old Manor Store, I'd have to say the Quiraing is one of my favorite places and landscapes in Scotland. It's a set of dramatic rock formations located on the side of a mountain. Quiraing was formed by a landslide long time ago. The grass is so green there, I felt like I'm like on a giant golf course. Anyways, to get there, I drove up this windy road. Be careful because I popped my tire because the road is super bumpy. Anyways, I got to the parking lot and I started the trek to the Quiraing. Now, it was a super easy hike. It only took me like 30 minutes. There's no elevation gain. On the hike, I came across some sheep that were just vibing. I also saw some really cool rock fields, and then I was just surrounded by just these magical mountains. They just have this really unique shape that I've never seen before. There's little lakes, and then you have the view of the ocean. It's just such a unique place. When I was there, I was lucky enough to have sunny weather. A lot of people I've talked to said when they've gone, it's just been so cloudy they couldn't even see anything. So I feel pretty fortunate about that. The Crane is just such a beautiful area that offers great hiking trails and just some of the world's most outstanding views. All right, so that is it for my Scotland video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Scotland is just one of the world's most magical and beautiful places. There's a lot of locations that I left out, so much more to explore than just my video, but I hope this helps and hope it inspires you to visit somewhere new this year. If you guys like my content, make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, of course, his punctuation is not punctuation. His pronunciation is quite off. Even I'm hearing it now. Since I've been talking to everyone so much in the comments and just chatting back and forth, I'm learning, I'll make a mistake, especially early on. And I have since fixed it, or at least mostly fixed it, certain parts. But if I did a video just out of nowhere without knowing the names and I spoke about the names, I'm sure I would kind of mess them up. As in really mess them up. So let me know your thoughts about this video, the choices. I know from my experiences being there, I would take out a lot or a few of these items and then put a lot in that I remember or have seen. Overall, I enjoyed the list. There's a lot of he seems like an outdoorsy kind of guy, likes these hikes, likes rock structures, likes the green, which is very true. There's nothing like that here. It's very rugged seeming, and that's probably where all the myths and everything come from. It's magical, especially with the mist and the fog kind of rolling through those mountain ranges with the cliff sides and waterfalls and pools and lakes. Definitely understand that. But there's also, countless towns and cities that I drove through when I was there when I was young that we want to go back someday. They were very unique looking, and I feel like when you see images of Scotland, it's Scotland. It's very defined. So let me know what you would take out or put in, what you could add on to these places, and because that's of course where I learned the most in those discussions. And thanks for watching, and until next time, we'll have to do Ireland next time, making our way through, and Wales as well. Wales and Ireland. So thanks for watching and have a good rest of your day.